Wow. Wow. It's the 30th of September. I've been out west for 10 days. I've been here for maybe 11 days and couldn't ask for anything. Oh, I could ask for the weather to be better and not as hot, or yesterday not as windy. Next week I'll record a podcast with some of the crew that was here. All the laughs, all the gaffes, all the misses, all the retrieves. We're going to go over all that. But I'll tell you what the one thing that didn't disappoint are all the things that I have for my sponsors. And I know you're like, oh, here we go, Ron. No, I'm serious. I am 100% serious. It's even harder to find places to go. There's more property electronically posted, and there's a lot of nuances to looking for property. And OnX Hunt really, really turned us into e-scouters. Now, I'm not really good at it, but my friends are. And I don't think we would have had the success we had because you hear that bird numbers are down. Yeah, I think ground's down for sure, but we knocked it out. We knocked it out of the park because of OnX Hunt and a lot of other reasons. I saw more gunner kennels here on this trip. Well, that's kind of because I saw more hunters than I usually see. That's a whole nother story. But the gunner kennels are out. I saw them at least. I mean, to think just passing by trucks. I think I counted 6 different times over the week. Like, oh look, that person knows a good kennel. And I couldn't tell if they had the food crate or the food bowls, but they had the gunner kennels. DU Supply came through. Just like I tell you, they take care of customer service. I left unprepared. I needed some good new ID collars. They were rubbed out, the brass you couldn't read. Shame on me for wearing them around my dog's neck. They had them out here. They sent it to a friend of mine's house. At the place I stay at doesn't even have a mailing address. They sent them to a friend's house in North Dakota, and they were here waiting for me. DU Supply, when you need something for your dog, especially electronics, you're going to talk to people who hunt their dogs. And, of course, Garmin, out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the 9 people that I hunted with off and on or hunted in the same area, and, of course, we get back together. We don't party hunt. We all seek out on our own, maybe in pairs or singles. Not one of them. Is that the right way to say? Not one of them didn't have, or is it easier to just say they all were wearing Garmin around their neck? It's like jewelry for your dog, and of course peace of mind. Mossberg, I just got a new old Mossberg. Okay, I went out of my way a little bit to do a little bartering, and I got a Mossberg 16 gauge pump gun that is, well, it's almost as old as I am. So, if you like classics, and I like classics, then, Mossberg has got everything. You can go antiquing for a Mossberg because they've been around since, 1918, or you can get a new Mossberg. It really doesn't matter. There wasn't a soul here that wasn't shooting Boss ammo. I'm not saying it's because of me. I'm saying it's because they know it is the best non-tox. We jump from private to public lands, which would be WMAs and state lands, constantly. You don't want to take the chance in going out there with steel and lead. You can't do that. You can't go out with steel and lead. You go out with Boss ammo, the Boss number 7. Everybody was shooting Boss 7s. And yeah, that was the least of our worries. It was good ammunition because we were covered by Boss. Not all the dogs. I take that back. Half the dogs were eating Purina Pro Plan, and the other half of them I felt sorry for. And they fueled my dogs for this week. They fuel my dogs every day of their life. And in fact, Canine Athlete was the supplement. Now, that is something that I would say everybody was using. Luckily, I know somebody there because of my sponsor, and I could bring out the Hydrate and Recover, and I had also had some Canine Pro for those dogs that get a little travel sick, a little excited diarrhea. It works really good as a probiotic in their stomach. So they helped the trip. Marshwear made me the most comfortable hunter on the trip. I wore 2 different pair of pants, one of them for 8 of the 10 days. And you could not ask for a better early season pant. They refer to it or call it the escape pant. And the really nice thing about it is It's a stretchy, light material, and one of the things I love about it, we only ran it, actually somebody did run into a couple of ticks here, but I don't. But when I'm back in Michigan, they have a little bungee, if you care to use it, down at the ankle. Yeah, kind of keeps them ticks out, keeps the weeds out of your shoelaces and out of your socks. Anyway, that and the tops, I look like a walking Marsh commercial, but there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. And I only needed my Arxis boots one day. It's historically hot and dry out here this time of year. But when things are in an inversion, we had a couple mornings where the grass was like walking in water. I didn't worry about it because I had my Arxis boots. So you go to ArxisUSA.com. You know who it is. They're from Jack Butler. Can't go wrong with that. And the four-wheel camper, believe it or not, I was in a town about 30 miles from here. And as I'm going by the side street, I see a brand new four-wheel camper. And I think it was the fly fishing version of, I have the Model M, but the Model M carried everything that I'm talking about. My dog kennels, my food crate, my coolers, everything. And it's a place to sleep on the road. You couldn't beat that with a stick, even if you had a big stick. And I absolutely love that. I just love that thing. And the ability to just pull over on long drive, this is a 19-hour drive for me. The ability to just pull over, pop the top, and get laid down horizontal. I could get a 3-4 hour nap, and it's way better than sleeping in a truck, and it's way better than stopping at a motel, getting your dogs out one at a time, back and forth. I just go in a couple. I've been traveling around this country for a long time. I know places to stop. I know people. And I can always just pop up. I can pop up in a friend. I can pop up in a piece of state land. I can find a place to pop that up, kind of like having a portable bird camp right on the back of your truck. And I want to thank all my patrons, mostly because I got to see some of them this week. And Blake, Tosh, you know who you are, and a few other ones that called. Nick came over for a visit. Oh my God, we've got stories. Wait till next week. It's going to be a recap of the trip. It's going to have all the fun stuff and the lost dogs. There was not one of our dogs, but there was a dog lost, went 15 miles from 2 in the afternoon to 6 in the morning. That story will be here next week. But thank you for all my patrons that met me out here, called me, reached out, wanted to know how things were going. I can't thank you enough. We're going to have a great Zoom room when I get back home. And so if you're not a patron and you know what the hell I'm talking about because it's the first time you heard the Hunting Dog Podcast, you just go to patreon.com/huntingdogpodcast and you will figure it out. And you could become a member and get discounts on things like Canine Athlete, Walton's, Marshwear. Now, everybody can get those discounts. Like for Walton's, it's HTP 10, and Marshwear, it's HTP 15, and Canine Athlete, it's Canine Athlete. But if you are a Patreon member, you also get a Gunner Kennel discount and a deeper discount on all those other items. So that's worth it. The Zoom rooms are worth it. The extra content is worth it. Speaking of extra content, in the garage, we used the Meat Eater trivia game, and we filmed it. My buddy Matt, he filmed the whole thing with like 3 cameras. He's going to edit it. It's going to be on the YouTube channel. So look at the Hunting Dog Podcast YouTube channel. It should be out in a week or two. And in the meantime, you can look at all the other stuff we've been putting out there, the content we've been putting out on the YouTube channel. It's going to be, so my best friend in the whole world, Roof, better known as, well, he's just Roof, R-U-F. That's what we've called him since he was a kid. And he kind of came into character as a dog sitting in on the trivia game. So we had a lot of questions because it's not often you get a dog that speaks English. And Roof played a trivia. He actually did pretty well for a dog. And you're gonna like that one. If you don't crack up watching that one. And then in the meantime, talking about, filming and Matt editing, the Hunting Dog Film Fest, not connected to the Hunting Dog Podcast, just the only name you can give something that celebrates what we do with our dogs and the folks who film it. This is going to premiere at Pheasant Fest next year, okay? And it's going to be at a venue. It's going to be not going to be like in theater where you got to sit down elbow to elbow. This is going to be the place where you can have a cocktail and an hors d'oeuvre, and there'll be chairs to sit, there'll be tables to stand at. You can do whatever you want to do. But the Film Fest is going to celebrate amateur and professional editors and videographers telling their story of their dogs and their hunt, or someone else's dogs and someone else's hunt. And this is hopefully, with everything going right, this is going to be not only an annual thing, but a traveling film festival that people will enter. I even talked to one fellow the other day. He said, I can't wait to do it. He said, but I won't have mine ready by Pheasant Fest. He said, I'm already planning on entering it next year. So for those of you who like that kind of stuff, like making your own videos, hey, there's going to be a venue. We'll give you, I don't think we're going to have Emmy Awards or Academy Awards. No. But there will be awards. There will be prizes. It's going to be a really cool thing, and you're going to see that next year at Pheasant Fest, at the Hunting Dog Film Fest. I'm looking at my little notes here, and I think I got it all. I said, yeah, I talked about the YouTube channel. I talked about, I didn't tell you about Zero Breeze. So on the way out here, it was really hot. And in the back of that Model M camper, yeah, I can slide a window open and keep the dogs. Yeah, they're certainly not going to die back there. It's not a sweat lodge. But with the Zero Breeze, I hooked up to inlet and the outlet, and I had a discharge, and I got the humidity down. In that kind of temperature, I didn't get the dogs down to 65 degrees, and they don't need to be. But I watched on my little Govee Bluetooth thermometer that I keep in the back of the dogs. I watched that humidity come out of there, just like with any air conditioner. That made a game changer. I don't want to say it made a game changer. What it did is it gave me peace of mind. You're looking at the outside temperature, and you're like, how are the dogs? Okay. My dogs don't ride in the back seat. They ride in kennels in the back of my truck. But with that, I had a little more peace of mind, just like putting a Garmin tracking collar on your dog or the LTE. Anyway, that's it, everybody. You wait till next week. This episode was intended to be recorded in person with Amelia, and she had a run back. You'll hear all about it. We wanted to do it up here in North Dakota. It didn't work out. She had to run back to Texas. Amelia Baxter is a up-and-coming field trialer with the Cockers and the Springers, and we had a fun conversation. And the only thing I regret is that it wasn't here in person at the kitchen table. But we did a good job of it, and you're going to enjoy this. And then look forward to next week. I'll bring Trent and Heather out, and I'll get a couple guys on a Zoom, and we're going to recap the whole trip here last week. And it's not going to be like, and then my dog ran to here, and then your dog didn't. No, it's just like why we do this. And the dog work is part of it, but it's the camaraderie. The camaraderie is why I do this. And it's why I do this podcast. And it's why I spent 2 hours this morning talking to people who randomly call me and find me through the website, looking for dogs, looking for advice. Anyway, I love you guys. I love you girls. Of course, I love you girls more. And I just love the last week and a half. And here's to my daughter, who, if I'm not mistaken, will be giving birth to our 6th grandchild today as I record this. Now, I'm going to be sticking close to the phone. I'm going to be cleaning the house, packing up the truck, but I'll be waiting to see that little bambino, that little girl be our 6th grandchild. That'll make it 3 and 3. 3 boys, 3 girls. Boy, with friends, dogs, and family, you just can't do it. You can't ask for more. And I wouldn't dare to ask for more. I'd be kicked squarely in the butt if I asked for more. All right. See you next week. I really hate doing this to you. But I mentioned Walton's in a passing sentence, and I didn't tell you what you already know about Walton's. They have everything but the meat. I had spices with me. I did not bring any of my implements. When we go back, Walton's in my kitchen. Walton's on my hunt. Walton's in your kitchen. They do have everything but the meats. You got to check them out. You got to get the catalog. Thank you. All right, it's official now, Amelia. No lying, no telling fibs.
No.
100% true.
Okay.
I'm on a Zoom call with Amelia Baxter, and she's from down Texas way, as they say.
Yep. Yeah.
I pulled a couple of your credentials off your website. The 2023 National Cocker Championship.
Yeah.
Well, before we hit the record button, she said she wouldn't own a cocker. I mean, a little tongue in cheek there. And then 2 placements in the 2023 Springer National Open.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to tell us what this is. You achieved the Dan Longhands Award.
Yeah, Dan Langens. He was a pro, and I never met him. I came in a little later after him, but the Dan Langens Award is accumulated high point points for a dog in both the open and the amateur, and it's weighted points over the course of the year. So that dog, he was a weighted high point open and amateur dog.
So you get that not from the overall of all the dogs you run, from what you did with one particular dog. That's why that award from.
Yep, over the whole year. Yep, for nationally. So that dog had weighted points for the whole year.
How many events do you have to do for something like that? I'm afraid to ask, but
oh my God, I can't even tell you. I think I didn't actually run as many trials with that dog as I did with my other dog the year before. I was chasing, so when I was an amateur, I was chasing amateur high point with her. And I must have run, over 20 trials with her. And which ruined her, right? Which just ruined her. She was out of control at the end of the year, but I didn't know any better. I was just running to win it. And then I got second, and that just killed me. And then I had a dog that was a spaz afterwards. But the high point will come naturally if you just go and run and train and do it all right.
But you were just a little like, I got to do more kind of thing, huh?
I have to win it. I love it. I'm really competitive, and it's a problem. Yeah.
I want to touch on a couple things, but I want to start. I got a couple notes here because when you and I talked, you had me kind of in stitches about your start in the dog world. So yeah. I think people would love to know that there's a lot of places you can start from in the dog world. Not many of them are going to be where you started from.
No, right. So, growing up in Southern California, none of my family, we're all from the UK, but I grew up in Southern California. None of my family hunts, none of them. We lived a pretty vegan lifestyle, right? Growing up in California. But when I went to Montana for college, I got a boyfriend who was into hunting, and I got a little short tail, we call him short tail bench show cross backyard bred Springer, right? That tends to be everyone's first Springer because they don't know the difference between the bench and the field. And I got him, and my boyfriend, he's like, well, you ought to teach him to hunt because he's a bird dog. I did some Googling, and I'm like, well, yeah, you know what? He is a bird dog. And taught him took him to some retriever classes, and he hard mouthed dog, but he'd go and he'd pick it up and he'd get it for you on his way back, but he'd retrieve. And so I took him on the pheasant hunt, first one ever in Iowa, and I was just hooked. And after that, I did my research, and I got a really nice, well-bred, field-bred dog. And so I started getting birds in, right, and trying to keep birds to train my dogs, feral pigeons and whatnot. And I got a little 10 by 10 dog kennel, and I went and I bought 100 pigeons down in San Antonio. I think they were $5 then, and stuck them in my kennel. And my dad was just not on board. None of my family were. You're posting photos of your dogs on Facebook of, the bird in their mouth, and you're so proud of your dogs. And I had my aunt and all my cousins sending me, messages telling me how much, they hate me, and, they thought I was a better girl. And, and my dad, he went in, and when I was at work, he went in and opened the door of my kennel, let all my pigeons go. And it just
like Free Willy, right? Come on.
Just releasing up, save yourselves. Yeah. He's terrible. So, yeah, it was a while, of trying to get him on board. He still, to this day, he won't watch. He won't come out, and we train out here at the kennel. And if we're shooting birds, he won't come out and train. If we're shooting, if we're doing dummies and marks, he'll come and throw one for us. But if there's birds involved, he's out. If he sees one flying away after we shot at it, he's cheering for him every time. I love him. He's great.
But he's not going to change. Like, you don't even him softening up saying, hey, my daughter does. It's not that. He's just like,
no. I mean,
if you quit doing this, probably.
He's proud of me because I'm successful in what I do, but he'd rather me just train pet dogs. He'd rather no killing was involved. Right. Yeah.
So if he had a shelter, it would definitely be a no-kill shelter.
It'd be a no-kill shelter. It would be. Yeah, his meat's grown in the grocery store, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
That was your whole growing up. I mean, it wasn't like you talked about bird hunting when you were a kid, right? So he probably thought, boy, she's just one of us. Then you go off to college, and it's the opposite of what, some parents worry about. I'm sure I'm old enough to be your dad or your grandpa. Your kid goes off to college and all you hope is like, oh, I hope they don't get some wacko professor that gets them into some weird, esoteric degree like philosophy of ancient. Like, no, you were going there to be a lawyer. And it's like, yeah, the school went fine. You went wrong. You met a hunter. And how did they adapt to that? I mean, oh
no, it was terrible. Well, we don't need to get into it. That guy ended up, he was pretty rough. But he's a snow goose guide. He's posted photos of just piles, right? Just stacks of birds,
right?
And they couldn't have been. It's like, today, right? You see the African safari photos, and people posting their trophies and stuff. And my dad will go off on a tangent. He can't handle it. And so, we ended up with some different boyfriends that were a bit more sensible, and a bit more gentlemanly in the sport. And that soothed him a little bit. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. You didn't need the snow goose pile him up, whack.
No, he couldn't handle the piles. No.
First she starts hunting, and now she's marrying Ted Nugent. Damn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the funny thing. We had a couple I know, they're probably about your age, and they came out to North Dakota this year. Well, they've come out before, and we know each other in Michigan. And it's Blake and Toshi. And they come out and they hunt together. They camp it out. We had enough room here, and we let them camp in the yard for a couple of days, and then they went out hunting on their own. And we got to know her. And I thought, knowing your backstory, this wasn't so much anti-hunting, but she grew up, her parents were Moonies. They were like the people at the airport with the orange robes, and they try to get you converted to, Reverend Sun Young Moon.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what happened to you? She goes, I just met Blake, and I just went the other way. Just like you met the goose hunter. And you went the other way, and now she's out there with her own shotgun. And
that's funny.
Yeah, she hunts it up as much as she can. They've got 3 dogs, and they're something.
I love it.
The paths are never straight.
No.
I want to dig into a little bit, because that little thing that made me laugh so hard about springers and cockers. I think historically, if I know my history a little bit, they're all from the UK. The smaller ones became the cockers, the larger ones became the springers.
Mm-hmm.
But where, I mean, I'm sure, like, we can't go back in time. We can't go back 150 or 200 years ago and go like, oops, that one should have been a cocker. Oops, that one should have been a springer.
Yeah.
What do you know? Like, when did it really become a thing, like a difference in dogs, Or do you see a crossover in some of them?
I mean, you get a lot, especially up in North Dakota. It's kind of funny, right? Like, I've got a friend, Time Outer. He's Section 35 gun dogs.
That's where I got my Vivi from.
Really?
Yeah.
So you've probably seen Ty's dog Gru.
Yeah. We only met for an hour, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Gru is a big liver and white, He's like he's probably like a roan, right? But he's a large, lighter, roan colored cocker. But he looks like a Springer, right? And he's big. He's a big dog. He's 38, 40 pounds. He's a big cocker. And so you see that dog at a cocker trial and you're like, there's no way, right? There's no way. And he casts him off and he is just as cockery as they come, right? He's just, he's not flowing. He flows, but just, he won't flow like a Springer. His run, he just, he'll turn and he'll flip and he's just cockery. To
describe that for people, cockery's
right. So yeah. So, when you're hunting a Springer, they cover ground, and they don't, when you hunt a Springer, you want them, pretty much a figure 8 pattern. That's kind of go right average. And when you get them going really well, they flow, pretty nicely. Cockers will, it's like they're not routing, right? Like I've got some UK cockers that Yogi, for example, I got a cocker from the UK. He won a trial over there, and my client brought him over, and I got him titled over here, and he's very British. So he's squirreling around and he's looping and doing a lot of extra, searching over here, and he doesn't flow, right? And there's nothing wrong with that because he's not misusing his energy. He's not double covering something he's already covered. He's just a little bit more methodical in making sure he doesn't leave any stone unturned, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times the cockers, they run more like that than the flowing. Mojo, for example, the dog I won the national with last year, I love that dog. I love that dog so much because he trains almost like a Springer and he runs like one. And so I've got Mojo and Yogi who are night and day. Yogi's very quiet. He's level-headed. He's a little squirrely when he runs, but he's great marker. He's a really nice dog. And Mojo, he's more powerful. He flows much like a Springer. He's a little bit more noisy. He's a little whiny. Not too bad, but he does. And he is a hothead. He is jacked. But that dog, the difference in those two, is so vast. I can take them both to a trial, and some judges are partial to a cockery cocker, a nice British, quiet, calm dog, and some judges like them running like a Springer. So it really just depends, right? And those two lines are totally different. Wow. So I don't know. I guess comparing them to Springers, the way they run, for me, when I go hunting, I like to hunt, Kansas and the Dakotas, and I hunt a lot of CRP and cattails, and I need a Springer who's got a little bit more power, a little longer legs. If I was hunting up in Michigan or whatever, I'd probably go with a cocker.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed my friend Connor, he lives in South Dakota, and I always hunt with him once on my way back, and he's had Springers. This is his family's had him. I think this is his 4th one. And I watch his dog, and like my little Vivi, she'll bounce off the cattails sometimes. She just can't. Yeah. You can't pet. Yeah. She tries, Oh
yeah, they try.
His dog just kind of hops and smashes and hops and she's so busy going in these, like, it's almost like an old pinball game sometimes. Like it's like bing bong bing, and like what made him just do like 8 back and forths instead of, I'd rather see it go out a little bit, but with both breeds, they have to be in gun range. And tell me if I'm so, I can't use the word retarded anymore, so nobody can say retarded. Like, even though I don't edit this podcast, the cocker almost acts like they had a shot of speed, but then other times they're like, oh, okay, slow down a little bit. But in the beginning, it's so crazy. Like I'm not used to, this is my first one died really quick, but so this is the first cocker that I've had for 2 seasons. And I will all of a sudden see her just take this line. I don't know if I'm thinking she's tracking something or if she's just having one of her, like what I call spazzy moments. I mean, where Connor's dog, and he's not a dog trainer, he doesn't trial. His dog did seem to hunt like for him the entire time without any of these little goofball casts, Is that a thing? Just that
it is. Stuff? I mean, it is. Yeah, it's just, we call it cockery. The springers they just flow, and the cockers are just cockery, and they just bounce back. And I like that, the pinball, they just bounce back and forth, and they just
and sometimes those paddles hit the pinball right. It's
I sometimes I wish that, I mean, because even if you've got them patterning right and you've trained the pattern for them to flow properly, they still add their pizzazz in the middle there, right? Where they still do the back and forth and the bouncing off shit and whatever. But a lot of times the older dogs, even though they look like it, they're not double covering. It's still proper use of energy. I don't understand it. I like it. I think it's fun to watch.
How long, because I want to say, certainly there's got to be some roading and conditioning with any sporting dog. But let's say when you go out to Nebraska or west to hunt, I'm sure the springers, because it's a little, I guess you could almost call it methodical compared to the cocker, right? I mean, it's a little more purposeful and flows. How long can they go, with that warp speed? I mean, it's a matter of, will they? I remember asking, I can't remember who I asked, somebody I knew in cockers. He said he just calls one in and sends another one out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, how long can it last running like that? I'm saying cool day, not hot.
Cool day. Mm-hmm. So it's different, right? Because, when we're trialing our trial dogs, they're down on the ground. There's 3 series at a trial where they're down on the ground for maybe 5 to 10 minutes per series, right? And so they keep up that high intensity, that high speed for that run, because that's not long at all, right?
Sure.
And so, a lot of people don't want their dogs to learn to pace themselves. And so they won't hunt their trial dogs. For me, most of my training before a national is just hunting. And those are dogs that are going to be in and out of the, they've been trialing, they're getting to a finished level, right? Or they're closer to a finished state where they're not going to quit on me. They're not going to pop on me. I'm not taking a young dog out that hasn't been, properly started, where he's got that drive to him and hunt him all day. But my trial dogs, I'm going to take 3 or 4 out at a time if I'm going to go walk a big section. And I'll either, heel 3, turn 1 out, or if I'm hunting cattails or really thick shit, I'm just going to turn them all out, and I'll walk them for 4 hours. I mean, I'll walk them. I don't care. They're going to keep going. And it takes a while to get to that. I mean, end of the season, right? Where they're still charging, but I mean, they're not going to slow down.
I mean,
they'll pace themselves.
A guy who I've trained some pointing dogs, and I've trained one to a high level in my life, but I'm too old and lazy to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Is there something innately, because of the flushing dog, the springer and the cocker, like their normal range, right? I know a friend of mine that's got them, and I always say what he says, I want my dog at 23 yards in the grouse woods. I'm like, well, could we just say 20 or 25 yards, right?
I like that.
23 yards. I'm like, you wouldn't know 23 yards if it bit you. But when you're out, not in the grouse woods, because I want a dog in close. But when I'm thinking of my pointing dogs, they want to go out there and course the, 100, 200, and bigger. Do you think you could get pointing dogs to walk along at heel while one pointing dog does the work? Because my thought is like, okay, that'd be great. Give me 20 good minutes of energy, come back in for water, send out, because you're not the only in Springer person that says they hunt 3 and 4 dogs when they take a long walk. It sounds impossible. How do you train?
Yeah.
It's certainly out of one day's training, but how do you do that?
Right. I mean, it's heel, right? I mean, that's all, trialing is, and the training for the field trialing. It's, it's hear and sit, and the rest is all natural. Right. So, I train them to heel. We'll have dogs that, we're keeping them steady when we're hunting them. So, if I've got a dog out there that flushes a bird and, we shoot it and it takes some steps or it goes to break, I'll stop him and I'll send a dog from my heel that's marked that bird to go get it. Right.
Really?
Which influences, oh yeah. Which that'll piss that dog off. Right. He's out there in the field. He knows he's just screwed up. So he's not going to get that retrieve. Now he's pissed because he didn't get it. Right. So he's going to think about that the next time he does it. Maybe if I just sit here, I might go get it. But you're rewarding the dogs that heel with a retrieve occasionally. But it's, I mean, if I've got people shooting for me, like if I've got younger dogs, I won't shoot. I'll just like the dogs. My older dogs, I'm going to be shooting. But yeah, it's a solid heel. If they're not heeling, they get on a lead. But those are the dogs that I'm not going to be taking out on hunting with me. I don't want to mess with that.
Do a wild bird hunt. You're taking out dogs that have competed. They're completely trained.
Yeah.
Oh, but okay. So let's turn it around. You've got a new dog that's whatever age, a year old, that's not ready for that kind of hunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get them ready for that hunt? Does the trialing process help that, or is just the training at home help that? Because I can't imagine it's kind of like the first day at high school. All of a sudden you're like,
Yeah.
And now this dog is like, boy, everybody loves me. Like, wait a minute, it's not my turn. It's not my turn.
You got to treat those dogs differently, right? Like I just sold a dog on my drive home last week. One of my dogs out of my breedings, and we've run some puppy stakes with him, which they have to be steady in puppy stakes and spaniels. And so, this dog, he's 15 months old. I told the guy, go hunt him this fall. And when I say that, he understands that doesn't mean, 2 hours. That means like half an hour, 45 minutes. You see some birds driving around, stop, let him out, let him find some birds. And, you're not going to be denying that dog retrieves at this point. If he breaks, you're going to correct him. You might not let him pick that up, or if he, flushes it and breaks, you're not going to shoot that bird. But it just depends on, what age or what level they're at, right? For how long you hunt them, or how hard you make the setup. A lot of times after the trial out there in South Dakota, I stayed for a couple days and trained on some of the leftover birds at the trial. And there's a ton out there, and we walked the old courses, and I got some of my young dogs out, and I see a bunch of birds, gathered up here, and, I was going to work on steadiness with this dog. So I kick him out, and he goes out and he flushes one, and he, watches it fly off, and I'm not shooting anything. I just tell him, leave that, kick him over the other way, and he goes in, flushes another one, and set the reward instead of the retrieve is to flush another bird. And so it's just another kind of a game, right? Where it's, because most of the time when we do study our dogs, you sit down, you get a retrieve, right? When you just another little fun thing to elevate that steadiness is, now it's just flushing based, which is also fun. But that's a nice young dog. That's a 2-year-old.
Yeah, my cocker experience intimidates me. So I'm the guy who has one, loves it so much. It's not steady, but it hunts in a range where I could shoot the bird. So I'm okay, and she's okay with it. Obviously, I could never go to a trial with it, because where's that? I was over years ago. I was over at Jordan Horrocks with Cato boards. Wisconsin, and I brought him Taffy, my first dog. I said, "All right, you got to teach." He says, "Well, let me work with her a little bit." So I drove. In fact, it was during COVID. Like the highway was empty. I got up to Wisconsin, and he had all the boards out in the yard, and I left her with him. But he showed me a couple things with his dogs. I said, "Cool." And he calls me up. He goes, "Exactly how many tennis balls have you thrown for this dog?" And I said, "Well, we kind of had this game where we just played handball in my kennel building, you know." He goes, "You didn't do me any favors. I start a dog off on tennis balls." I'm like,
Oh, perfect.
yeah. It's like, he goes, "I don't think I can get this dog steady." And so I made a point of not doing a lot of fun tennis ball just throws.
Yeah.
At least without making her do something for it, which would be weight, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an age in the pointing dog world, people get rescue dogs, they could be a year, 2 years old. If I haven't done any bad, and she really rarely gets any kind of fun retrieve. She just gets to go hunting a little bit. When I will say one thing, I don't know if the Springers are identical, but the two I've had, their first encounter with a big bird, they acted like they did it their whole life. Like, I grabbed it and ran to my ankles. And I was like, most of us have to fight the pointing dogs to do this. Half of them won't pick it up. But where I was going with, she's 2 years old. Would the steadiness come just like would you start out with a 6-month-old dog, just start working some place boards and the whoa, or did I let it go too far south?
No. No, I mean, you easily start it. Line steadiness is really pretty easy, having her sit on a board and, you can hold a little tension on the collar, right? Throw it when she settles, when she's sitting there on her own, you release her for it and you just start to build off of that. I got that Mojo dog at 2.5 and he'd had a 1,000 quill shot over him. His owner just let birds out on it. Wow. Just totally unsafe. And we got him. I couldn't believe how well he steadied up in less than a year, and then he went and won the national. I mean, it was just shocking. Yeah, but it can happen. It really easy. Yeah, I mean, just depends on the dog's personality, right? Whether they're willing to do it with you. And get some assholes out there, and that's tough.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Well, there's a lot of asshole dogs out there. People don't. There's you can always tell somebody who's had a lot of dogs because they'll say statements like that, right? And the person who's had one dog's like, "Oh my God, how could you say that about your dog?"
Well, ain't no way.
But here, and this is Ron getting free personal training advice from Amelia. She has this one annoying habit, and she's had it ever since she was a pup, where my first one, that they just look at you and sit, and then you can just overlay. It's like she could be running around. I could say sit, boop, right? Like
nice.
This one sits on her hip, kinda, instead of sitting square. And then if you want to do something, she just kind of goes like this.
Oh, passive aggressive. Now that is passive. Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Oh yeah, she's just giving you. She's fucking 100%. Oh yeah.
No, really?
Oh yeah.
I thought it was like a genetic flaw. It's
no. What is it? I mean, people will say, "Oh, well, she's so soft. She's not soft. She knows you're going to give in there." Yeah, you make her sit. No, sit. Yeah, that's funny. I get so many of those.
Do you really?
Oh God, so many. Yeah.
But that story with Mojo, that gives me a little. Not that I want to trial a dog, but that I know I didn't really mess her up because I haven't asked much of her, and kind of like that guy just lets her hunt. So that'll be my spring training.
Well, yeah, you can do it real easy. I like doing it. Studying dogs is really fun for me. I just enjoy that. I don't know.
If you're doing that, and I think this certainly would apply, I know for pointing dog people, like let's say you got a young dog and you're going to go on a hunting season, you're working on in pointing dog test, wing, shot, and fall, right? If it's not ready, don't expect more than you train for. Would you wait till hunting season was over and kind of make it like school for a while? Because would it, I don't want to confuse the dog.
That's the tough part. Right? I mean, because you can overwhelm them, especially young dogs. You take them out, you're halfway through your steadiness. You're like, well, if this goes perfect, he might be steady. You're just setting yourself up for failure, right? You're going to confuse the dog or he won't care. yeah. I mean, I do a lot of my, I don't know, you mentioned Jordan uses a ball. I use a ball for a lot of my studying. And it helps, I get a lot of dogs that don't like bumpers or balls, and that makes it a little tougher. But yeah, you can do it real easy. But I mean, hunting season, you have to have those expectations. I'll have I mean, I've got older dogs, right? That, the bird will get up and you're shooting at it and you break a wing. I'm going to send my dog before that bird hits the ground.
Yeah.
I can vary my sense and my steadiness of those finished dogs. But puppies, you got to be really, or younger, puppies, or it's, early stages of steadiness, you got to be really careful there.
Yeah. Yeah. I did notice, I would tell, just from all the years of pointing dogs I've had, that if I just wanted a hunting dog, I would probably get a Springer or a Cocker. If I could live in a matrix where you go back, they say there's no do-overs. We all know that. But boy, if you could go to, I'd be like, all the frustration I had with, like the runaway dogs, the self-hunting dogs, there's just a gamut of stuff you fight with. And especially in the versatile dog world that I was in, they have to, if you don't have a dog that's a natural retriever, you're just asking for tons of work to try to pass this test. But people do it. And with the Cocker, again, I haven't owned a Springer yet, but it's kind of on my list too. You could without any training, I could take her hunting, and her normal range is already within my gun range.
Oh yeah.
It's just, other than those little goofy, they
come out of the wound bordering. Yeah.
Yeah. And for all dogs pick up motion so much better than humans do. It could be a butterfly, it could be a who knows what, but that's the only thing I'd say. I see these shoom, like an arrow coming out of a quiver, but then she comes back. That's like no training. She kennels like a champ, retrieves like a champ, and
it's just easy.
Yeah. It's like, why do people want pointing dogs?
I don't know. When I go sharp trail hunt, then I see I have to walk myself the whole length of the wheat field. I get it.
Yeah, you can do it. I had some good luck with Vivi, but I was really targeting, they love on the backside of a slope, and if there's a bush, I could target it. But just walk out on a couple thousand acres. Yeah, I'd rather have a big running pointing dog, because there's only a handful of birds there. But go back a little bit. We talked about your start in the family, and you were from California. You weren't a hunter until you met your boyfriend. But I get where you got the passion, this is cool. I want to do it. Somebody had I shouldn't say this, maybe you read a book. Maybe, I know it wasn't the Walters book, but how did you become the trainer as opposed to,
Yeah. So, I rode horses my whole life.
Okay.
And when I went up to Montana, I did farrier school, and then I started shoeing horses professionally. And then I did that for about 5 years, and then I started training horses. I got a barn down in San Antonio, and I just started. I was starting ranch horses for the most part. But in the past I'd done dressage and hunters and reining and western, just all the stuff. And
so training animal wasn't foreign to you,
right? The dog. Yeah. So when I wanted to train that dog, to pick up birds for him, I said, well, that's easy, right? I know how to train an animal. That's easy. And then when I got my first good dog, I joined a club, Heart of Texas Spaniel Club, and they're in San Marcos, Texas. And Dave Flint, he's the president down there. He's one of my best friends, and he got me started into it. And I remember I brought my short tail to him first time out there, and then my little field bred puppy, and comparably, at the time, I thought my show dog was he was a looker. I thought he was gorgeous,
Yeah.
and my little Weasley, slender, field-bred puppy, I thought it was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen. And so I went out to that club and I ran my short tail, and he just lopes along and he eats birds and he does whatever. And then I'd get my puppy out, and she's just zipping, just out there screaming, jumping up in the air, catching birds. And he goes, well, this is a piece of shit, but this one is going to be a good dog. Well, I didn't go back there for like 8 months. I said, well, screw that guy. He just called my beautiful show dog a piece of shit. And up and down, he was 100% right. I ended up just getting, and I was Fly. It was my first field-bred dog, and she did pretty well. And then I got my next dog, Stella, and she did pretty well. And then I got Hank and Cheater, and it just exploded. But
was the club kind of your mentor, like for picking up things? Okay.
Yes. So I'd take all those dogs out to the club about maybe twice a month on a Saturday, and we'd train dogs, and then do a little barbecue, a little cookout, right, like clubs do, and
a lot of talking about training.
Lots of just sitting and talking about training, right? And they got me into my first puppy stake, and I just go out there, twice a month, and just build, go home and just build on the stuff I'd learned there. And I'm bad. I didn't read any books. I didn't YouTube any videos because he told me not to YouTube videos. He said I could find worse things on there to do than good things. And I just tried to mimic him, and people bring their dogs out to club training, and it looked like the wrong thing to do. So I wouldn't do that. And, you'd see someone doing the right thing. So I'd try that. And then I met some other trainers, and I went out and I'd camp out with them for a week or two, and you take pieces from everyone, good and bad. And I started wanting to just trial all the time. My horses weren't getting trained. I wasn't making an ounce of money. And my boyfriend at the time, he said, well, you have to start to make money instead of just spending it all. And so I became a pro dog trainer.
And then you are one. Yeah. So
that's it. Yeah.
So your mentorship was from the conversations, from the campfires, from the week-long and the weekends. Yeah. And I mean, everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, I think the vast majority of people get into it and then become some level of a trainer. They maybe not get the big accolade or have the dog just didn't do a good job. But there are probably sure in the flushing world, somebody who started cleaning the kennels, and then the dogs out. That wasn't your path. You just jumped in and started hitting. Like, you didn't work 4 years cleaning kennels. You cleaned horse stalls.
No, I did that for a long time with horses, but the dogs, I really credit, being able to read horses is really similar to reading dogs. Just predator versus prey, right? I mean, it transfers so easy. And that's where I feel like I was able to jump in and be pretty successful pretty quickly just because of that whole background. But the guys down in that club, and then all the other trainers that I was able to spend time with, and they want to encourage new people to come into the sport because it's all, I mean, just like everything else, it's starting to die out a little bit, and so just getting new blood in. And so everyone's been really really good about welcoming people and trying to give them information and help them out and be successful. So I was just one of those lucky few that they let do that.
I've been hearing and seeing articles. I think what this could be completely wrong. Maybe 8 to 10 years ago, you would always see, like, in the more esoteric sporting magazines, like Double Gun, boy, they'd always have some English cockers in there, right?
Yeah.
And now when it gets to Gun Dog, which is like every man's magazine, right?
Yeah.
And they've got articles. The cocker, for some reason, seems to be getting all the attention. Is there a lot is it harder to find a good Springer than a good Cocker, or is it just a matter of research? Or, I mean, are there fewer Springers in this world, or is there more than we just don't see them?
Well, we get that. I think the biggest thing is that you got the breed split, right? Between the Springers, show and field, and then you have Cockers show and field. But when you hunt, you search for a hunting Cocker, you're gonna get a field bred Cocker. Right. When you search for a hunting Springer, you might get some field bred dogs, but you're gonna get, everyone's Georgia liver, tri-roan, short tail. I mean, those backyard bred dogs they're everywhere. And so people who
and that's because the Springer got so into the show world, so that those tentacles still exist out there in the genes,
right? Big time. But I think the field bred Cocker lines are so well. It's a shorter gene pool. It's a smaller gene pool than the field bred Springers. But I think you've got such a big difference between and I'm not 100% sure. I believe that the showbred Cockers and the fieldbred Cockers, there's a vast difference between the two, right? I mean, you've got the American show Cocker but then you've got the English show Cocker as well. But I don't know many people that have fieldbred dogs that have like the blend, right? Because in Springers, you'll have backyard breeders that are doing the blend. Well, this dog has a little bit of field in it. This dog has, had a little bit of bench in it.
The dad was a show, yeah.
Right. So we get a lot of that. Versus the Cockers, I don't know how much of that there is.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know why they're not more popular, because in my opinion, they're easier to train. I mean, like we talked about the other day, you can tell a Springer, you have to ask a Cocker. I mean, you tell them what to do. I love that. The Cockers, they have that different quirky personality that you have to work with sometimes. But the Springers, in my mind, they're my favorite. I love the Cockers. I love the Cockers, but the Springers are just a little bit more yes, ma'am, and I like that.
Mind that. I want my grandkids to say yes, sir. So I mean, I wouldn't mind instead of that little sneaky little Vivi that got me wrapped around her finger.
Oh my God, they do.
Yeah,
they do.
And then of course, everybody, you go somewhere, and then it'll jump on everybody's lap because I don't tell it not to, and then they think it's the cutest thing in the world. So what did the dog?
I love it.
The dog's like, I'm doing everything right.
That's right. I know that they do. I don't know. I mean, I think that it's the biggest thing, right? It's popularity. They're so trendy right now. The Cockers are so trendy.
Yeah.
And the Springers just aren't there.
Overall with both breeds, we're not, I mean, you do some breeding because you just drove, God knows, all over this country.
That was awful.
Last 10 days.
Yeah.
I got back in Texas 8 hours before the whelping.
Yep.
Overall health with both breeds, are pretty happy with it, or is
they're pretty strong. I've had more health issues with Cockers than with Springers. You've got the NMS you have to test for the Cockers, right? Acral mutilation syndrome. I don't think that's not so prevalent in Springers. I think they have more PRA problems than Cockers do. But, getting a lot of dogs from the UK, they'll have, a luxating patella. I've seen a few of those. Both breeds can have hip problems, but it's not like labs, right? Yeah.
I mean, if nothing else, there's such a small dog, you just don't associate this. I mean, like you said, it can, but it's not.
Yeah. Both breeds are generally pretty healthy. We don't have too many issues with them.
No, this is another Ron needs personal advice question. The only time I have to pick burrs out of her is obviously in her ears.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And so a couple of years ago, with the other dog, we actually filmed it on Instagram. We said she was going into boot camp and got a buzz cut on her ears, right? It's just She looked like regular dog ears instead of these cute little wavy ears. But I mean, literally, her coat is really kind of flat laying and it's kind of silky, right?
It's that, yeah.
And my buddy who listens to this show, sorry, Connor, I hunted with him in cockleburs where my dog would have been all full of cockleburs in the ears, right? Mm-hmm. This dog had cockleburs everywhere. So is the Springer a little more sticky to, or is it just that line of dog might just have a rougher coat that sticks to the...
Yeah.
She just...
Yeah, it just depends on Dar. I know. Yeah. I mean, like that Yogi dog, he's got a thick coat. That cocker, he wouldn't be able to walk. He'd be so full of them. I've got a Springer that's, I don't really know. I've got one Springer that's pretty hairy, but the rest, some of them have, I mean, really short, coarse coats, and some of them are
got a longer coated.
Yeah. Just, I mean, even out of the same litter, you can have thicker hair and thinner, coarser hair. So I don't know. The Springers generally have shorter coats, but it just depends on lines.
Yeah. So give her a little rundown. What besides you running 1,200, 1,900 miles home to whelp some puppies and sleep in the whelping room, you're going to turn around and be doing what in the next few weeks?
Yeah, we've got 3 trials. No, we don't. We have 4 trials in the next 2 weeks. And then I think I'm going to take a week off, and then run up to, that's in Minnesota. And then I think I'll run up to New York. And we're going to run the Springer trials have been going on for 100 years this year. So they're doing the 100-year parent club, the breed parent club. They're putting on that trial. And that'll be really special. I think that'll be pretty cool. That's at the end of the month. And then Halloween weekend, I think, is the Cocker National. So I think we got 3 days to train the cockers in between the parent club Springer trial and the Cocker National. I've got 4 cockers.
What's the distance between those? Because you're in New York for one. Where's the...
No, I don't know. I think it's like 5 hours. So I think that's not too bad. That's like an afternoon drive for me.
Okay.
It's like a grocery store trip. But I think we've got the Cocker National. That's in, I don't know, New Jersey maybe. I don't know. I think it is. Yeah, and that's gonna be a really nice event. It was held there I think a couple years ago, and I missed out. I didn't have any cockers a couple of years ago. We'll be taking. I've got 4 dogs qualified. I'll be taken up there, and then we've got a whole month off. I'm gonna hunt the dog tails off, and then we got Springer National. That's in Illinois, first week of December. I think I've got 9 dogs qualified for that right now, so that'll be fun. That'll be really fun.
Maybe I can get down there and watch.
Yeah, we're gonna be.
I'd love to watch one.
Oh my God, you are.
Yeah.
Yes, you need to.
Illinois is, just underneath Michigan and over a little bit. I can get, unless it's down in, sure, it's not all the way down in the tip of Illinois. It's got to be somewhere in the middle of Illinois, and I could be there in 3-4 hours or 5 hours.
I think it's pretty south. I think it's Pinckney. Have you heard of Pinckneyville? I think it's Pyramid State Park. Is where they're going to run it. It is actually South Illinois. So
I'll manage it.
You gotta come to that.
It might kind of kick me in the butt to do some serious training with her, because I don't want to tell people this, but we covered it. Other than that steadiness, you could just take them hunting. I think it's completely disobedient. She's a very obedient dog. She waits to be fed. She kennels, like she's got all the good house habits, but I still cannot fathom, because I know how I do it with pointing dogs. You've got a pointing dog's instinct is to stop, right? So you're building from stop.
Yeah.
Stalled on a Ferrari, right?
No, it's the most fun. I love it. That's exactly how I describe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, you're teaching.
Tell the pointing dog who's at the stoplight, hey, it's going to be a long red light, and you're not going to go yet. Right? And this dog to go, stop. Like,
Oh, it's the best. Oh, it's the best. They're born to catch birds, right? That's what a flushing dog is. And when they're young, we feed them clip wing pigeons and clip wing quail that they can catch. Just build them that drive. And they got that hard chase on a bird. We start shooting them for them, and then when they're pretty confident there, I said, "Okay, never mind. Now you can't chase it anymore." Yeah. Okay, never mind. Sit. So it is, and they got to be biddable enough to want to do that with you. You got dogs running in trials that, I've got probably half my dogs on truck I train with a collar and half I don't. And both are successful. Yeah, both are successful in trials. And it's for me, when I decide which dog needs which, it's just personality driven. And you get some dogs that end up being trial wise, right? Collar wise, trial wise. You just got to be consistent picking them up in a trial as you would in training. And thank God I've got good clients that they understand that, if your dog's going to screw off today, I'm not going to let him get away with it, and he might act better the next time. But you'll get dogs that'll start punching down the field. Birds are down there. Let's go. Right. And we can't have that. So it's steadiness, but it's also control, stay in range. So the cockers are a little better at that than the springers.
So the springers could be a little rangier then.
They can be. Yeah. Yeah. And when I'm hunting though, I let them be.
Yeah.
So it's a balance.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta take what you have. And and I've told people this in the versatile dog world. And I'm gonna say, if you don't agree with me, we're gonna end the Zoom call 1 minute early. I'm gonna hang up. There are dogs that literally resent and don't want to be trained to a high level.
Yeah.
You could get a client.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. But some people in my world, they get this dog and they test it over and over. And the judges can even say, he's just going to find something else to mess with you with. He wants to go hunt. He'd love to go hunting. He just doesn't want this high level of obedience, right?
Get a new dog.
Yeah. Get a some people can't hear those words, Amelia.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Yeah, you just have to be a little tough. Lastly, the last thing I want to ask is, when you said you were driving all over the country, and that's what you do because of the trial world, what's your rig like? Are you pulling how many dog trailer, and where are you sleeping in the back seat? Or are you getting the motel when you can find one that accepts 40 dogs?
I'm a hotel girly. So I can't say that. I've slept in my truck more often than not, when I want to get somewhere and I've got a few hours left, right? But normally at Airbnbs, I just tell them I might have one dog, and I don't tell them about the 23 other ones we've got. But no, I've had a 8-hole topper and an 8-hole trailer I've been pulling around, but I just this past week bought a 16-hole gooseneck that I'm gonna go pick up next this coming week. So I'm excited about that.
Oh my! And so you must have if you got a gooseneck, you're pulling at least a 3/4 or 1-ton truck you're driving.
Yeah. And
I don't mean solo all the time, but a lot of these trips, it's just you and the dogs, or do you always have
pretty much? Yeah, pretty much. It's finding people to stay with. It's a male driven sport. I've just got my best friend Hannah Hayes with Prairie Fauna Kennels. She just came into the picture last year, and so we've been traveling around to a lot of trials together. But if she's been hunting too much here recently, and I'm really jealous. She's been sending me so many photos, but so the past few trials I've been going by myself, but she's coming back next week. I'm excited to see her.
Yeah, road partner. That just makes it.
Oh my God, it's much easier. Yeah. So.
Well, we won't talk about burnt out wheel bearings or flat tires or anything.
No.
Yeah, I'm sure we got still. I'm sure. Amelia, I want to wish you the best of luck in all the stuff coming up. I'm probably going to rely on you're going to be in my speed dial. So
Do it.
when able, answer, because I will be coming down unless there's a problem in the family, and I don't think at my age there's too many problems. Nothing that my kids can't handle themselves, right? Like you, Mom, Dad, I'm on my own. I'm doing this crazy thing. I would love to come down and see you in Illinois. Yeah,
I'd love it. I'd love to see you there. Yeah. Hopefully we can do some good for you to watch.
yeah. It'll make me a little embarrassed, but it'll also spark me. All right.
Perfect.
All right, Amelia, with bad habit gun dogs. So
All right.
I'll have some notes. Your clients, real quick. Your clients kind of probably seek you. You're not going to get Joe Blow with a Springer because you trial these dogs. Do you also and I shouldn't say the word just either. Do you also do, when the season's right, do you do just general obedience for the Flushing dogs, or do you just stick to trial work?
We'll take on gun dogs, normally during the summer.
Yeah.
We'll take on gun dogs when we go up north and train during the summer because it's too damn hot down here. But it's mainly just trial dogs, spring and fall. And so if I've got young dogs coming in, I've got a wait list about a year out right now for hunting dogs for the summer. I can't take too many on during the summer.
Right. And that's just like the bird exposure for somebody's hunting dog. That would be like,
yeah. I mean, started quartering in range, retrieving to hand, shooting birds over them kind of stuff. That's kind of basic gun dog training for us. And then if it's really nice, then I tell you it's really nice, and then I say you ought to start trialing this dog, and then it gets put on the truck, and you never
right.
Yeah.
You got him right in the lip.
Yeah. So
all right, I'm gonna let you get going. I'm gonna let my dogs out in the pitch black and hope they don't run away. I lost one last night for an hour, and this area where I'm at, it's bulletproof for dogs, right? Except that this is also where they held a test a few months ago, and this dog that doesn't usually run away, she was gone. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be all night, and there's nowhere to drive, and the next road could be 3 miles, right? You can't just cut out onto a pasture. And I got the headlights on, I'm drinking a beer, smoking a cigar, and just kind of, why did you put the damn tracking collar on this dog? And the other part of me on this shoulder saying, because she never does anything like that. And the other one's slapping me. And then she comes into my headlights with a chucker.
perfect.
Right.
Perfect.
Like, okay, tell me you were holding point for the last 55 minutes or you were chasing it through a cattail. Either way, she came back with a bird, so I guess she wasn't a bad girl.
Oh my God. Yeah.
All right.
I had my Mal out last night. I've got one Mal on lawn, and she's useless. I got her because I thought she'd be scary, and she's not. She's useless, but she took off after the hogs. We got a hog trap out there baited with corn right now, and she just sits on the porch here and watches them, and she was gone for over 2 hours last night. So we got her from the pound, so that's all right. She didn't come back. She'll be fine.
She'll be fine. All right. Amelia, thanks for jumping on and doing this. I'm glad Jennifer introduced us. So with Jennifer Broom, thanks, Jennifer. And I hope to see both of you this year.
Awesome. Thanks, Ron.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.